It was our 5th wedding anniversary, and I had been anticipating it for months. At the time, I believed we would honor our relationship and the life we had created together. So I organized a lovely evening at a private home, an intimate meal, exclusively for my wife Sophia and me. I carefully considered every detail because I thought our anniversary ought to be a unique way to remember everything we had in common. But the day abruptly changed course when my brother, Eric, revealed that he was hosting a barbecue party on the same day. At first, I believed it to be a simple oversight or a misunderstanding that could easily be resolved. In the hopes that everything would be all right, I even tried to laugh it off. However, without further debate, Sophia made her decision. She told me, almost dismissively, that she was going to Eric's barbecue instead of attending our anniversary dinner. When I confronted her about it, she scoffed and said, "Come on, Adam, it's just a celebration. We can celebrate our anniversary anytime." Her remarks stung more than I anticipated because I knew deep down that it was more than just a party. It was a statement. In that moment, I realized exactly where I stood in our marriage. I was so disappointed that I couldn't find any middle ground. So, I made a decision. Nobody, not even my wife, would be permitted to arrive late or disrupt the plans I had made for our special evening. I wouldn't let anyone interfere with the anniversary I had planned. As the evening wore on, I made sure everything was exactly the way I wanted it to be. The location was graceful and serene. I had invited only those who truly cherished my marriage, family, members, and close friends who had supported us throughout the years. I even spoke with the security chief and made it clear nobody, not even my wife, was allowed in late. His eyes widened slightly, and he asked if I was sure. I nodded firmly. I was certain. The evening was filled with good music, light laughter, and meaningful conversations. When my best friend Jason learned of Sophia's decision, he shook his head in disbelief. "I still can't believe she chose a barbecue over your anniversary," he murmured. I forced a smile, but it didn't reach my eyes. Deep inside, I knew Sophia was making a major mistake, one that would reveal her true priorities. Later that night, as I sat surrounded by friends who genuinely cared, I knew Sophia and Eric were most likely having a blast at the cookout, completely ignorant of what I had done. The doors were locked. The rules were set. She would have to deal with the consequences of her choice. I felt an odd mixture of serenity and determination. If she truly cared about our marriage, she would have been there on time. But her absence made it clear where her priorities lay. I let the night unfold as planned, every elegant detail a silent statement. My heart ached from her negligence, but I felt in control. This night was my declaration. I had spent months preparing this celebration, choosing a beautiful and sophisticated venue, selecting the perfect guest list, only those who truly honored our vows. I had meticulously ensured that every light, every table, every small decoration was in place. Before the event began, I had spoken privately with security again. "No late arrivals," I told him firmly, "even my wife." His eyes widened slightly. "Are you sure, sir?" I nodded. "If someone chooses a cookout over our marriage, they do not belong here." My words were calm but resolute. This wasn't about being cruel. It was about respect. I wanted everyone to understand that this was a night to celebrate our union, and it was unacceptable to insult it. As the night continued, I watched the door, my heart skipping a beat each time, only to sink again when I realized she wasn't coming. The laughter and conversations of my guests filled the air. Jason Haas sat beside me and whispered, "I still can't believe she chose a barbecue." I tried to smile, but the weight of her absence was heavy. The table was set beautifully, with crisp white linens and carefully selected dishes, meals that reminded me of our happiest moments together. I moved from table to table, welcoming each guest, feeling both proud and heartbroken. I had created something beautiful that night, but someone was missing. And I knew exactly where she was. At Eric's cookout. Smiling. Laughing. Completely unaware of what I had done. Inside, my venue was filled. With warmth, music, and support. People who believed in my marriage. People who honored their commitments. And yet Sophia wasn't one of them. I glanced at the clock. I knew she wasn't coming. This night, this celebration, was supposed to be about us. A simple, genuine connection. A moment to reflect on our love. Instead, it became a silent testament to what I already knew deep inside. I had set the rules. I had made my decision. And now the night was proving me right. As the evening wound down, guests began to leave, offering kind words and admiration for how I had handled the situation. Jason clapped a hand on my shoulder. "Adam, I'm sorry it had to be this way," he said. "But you showed them all tonight. Sometimes the truth comes out like this." His words were comforting. Because I knew. Tonight was a turning point. And as the last guest left and the lights dimmed, I stood alone in the silent venue, surrounded by everything I had built, but without the one person who was supposed to stand beside me. And in that silence, I finally understood. Some truths don't need to be spoken. They simply reveal themselves. She begged the guard, her voice growing more urgent. "Adam, please allow me in." I could see she was desperate by the phrases she used, frustration growing with each second that passed. Inside the room, the pleasant chatter of guests and the mellow hum of soothing music continued. Their faces, once beaming with joy, now showed a greater awareness of what was happening outside. I noticed several glances, some filled with pity, others with silent comprehension, acknowledging that the decision had been made long ago. Through the window, I observed Sophia and the security guard as their debate continued. Her tone fluctuated. Between desperation and rage. "This is my husband's celebration. I should be present," she claimed. But the guard remained firm. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but rules are rules. I can't let you in." It was as if an invisible wall had been erected between her and the festivities. A wall I had carefully planned, one that would not collapse under her pleas. The guard's resolute denial was all I needed. Deep inside, I felt a chilling certainty. My decision had been made long ago. I had established the rule because I wanted tonight to be a true celebration. A night meant to honor the love and respect that our marriage was supposed to represent. And as the minutes passed, she had to deal with the consequences of her own choices. If she had chosen a barbecue over our anniversary, she had to accept the price. Outside, I watched as her frustration turned into fear, then into sobering awareness. Her eyes, once filled with fire, were now filled with pain, the pain of being excluded from something she was meant to be a part of. It was a tragic sight, but also an inevitable one. From inside, I could hear her muffled argument and the guards' calm, unwavering responses. The guests continued their conversations, though some glanced toward the door, concern flickering in their eyes. Their whispers floated through the air, regretful murmurs for missed chances and the reality unfolding before them. I kept my gaze fixed on the closed door, letting the silence speak louder than any words could. I did not assist her in entering. The Faye rule was clear, and I was determined to uphold it. It was a reminder, a lesson, that if you place something else above our marriage, you must be ready to accept the consequences. In that silent moment, I felt a mix of relief and sadness. If she did not honor the commitment we had made, she would have to live with the outcome. As the evening continued, and the conversations in the room carried on, I stood by the door, silently witnessing the results of choices made. The locks held, firm, and with each passing second, it became clearer. This night was no longer just a celebration. It was a turning point, a declaration that would shape our future. Just as I was preparing to address our guests, a loud noise outside caught my attention. I turned toward the window. Perhaps a late-arriving friend? Some minor disruption? But what I saw made my heart sink. Sophia stood in the doorway, her face pale, her eyes hollow with pain. For a long moment, she remained still, as if struggling to comprehend why the door would not open for her. I turned back to my guests, forcing my voice to remain steady as I welcomed them. I spoke of trust, of commitment, of the values that make a marriage strong. But deep inside, I could not ignore the painful truth unfolding just outside that door. As I spoke, I kept glancing toward her. I saw her eyes slowly fill with tears. And when she realized that I would not come for her, that I would not undo my decision, she broke down. Still, the guard did not move. He followed my instructions to the letter, standing firm while the soft music and conversation carried on, and then her voice, shaking, pleading, rose above the noise. "Adam, please, let me in." But the door remained locked. The guard, his tone unyielding, stated simply, "No late arrivals." That was the final word. At that moment, my brother Eric, already deep into his drinks, stumbled toward her. Laughing dismissively, he scoffed, "Come on, it's just one night. We can party somewhere else, sis-in-law." His words made her feel even smaller, as though our anniversary celebration, our marriage, meant nothing at all. But I knew. This was more than a single night. This was the moment everything changed. Inside, I continued my speech, though the weight in my chest grew heavier with every word. I spoke of commitment, of keeping promises. I spoke slowly and deliberately, ensuring everyone understood. This night was about honoring true dedication. And yet, with every passing second, every unanswered call from Sophia's phone, my heart hardened a little more. Her messages came in. Rapid succession. "Adam, why aren't you answering? Please, let me in. Don't do this." But I left them unread. A silent declaration. The rules were final. And as the realization set in, she finally understood, perhaps for the first time in our 5 years of marriage, that I was truly done. I watched as her head drooped, the light in her eyes dimming. Everyone could see it now, the weight of her own choices crushing her. I finished my speech with firm, composed words. Tonight, we honor what matters most: commitment, trust, and respect. The room fell silent. Only the soft music remained, and in that silence, I felt a deep, sorrowful clarity. I had made my decision long ago, and now its consequences were undeniable. Her final message arrived. I left it unanswered. I blocked any further calls. Not out of anger, not out of spite, but because I had already moved on. That locked door had become more than a simple barrier. It was a symbol, a defining moment, a statement that when one strays from true commitment, they must be prepared to face the cost. One last time, I looked outside. Sophia stood there, small, alone, and in that moment, I felt a mix of regret and resolution. Everything had changed. This was not just another missed anniversary. This was the night our marriage ended. Months later, the memory of that night remained clear. But I had found peace. On my next anniversary, I spent the day alone in a quiet apartment, not in sadness, not in loneliness, but in freedom. I celebrated not the end of a marriage, but the beginning of something new, a fresh start. I spent the day with true friends. I read a good book. I took a long walk in the park. And as I sat at a small cafe, sipping my coffee in the warm morning sun, I realized something simple but profound. Sometimes the best way to cherish what you have is to let go of what hurts you. And so, I moved forward. No regrets, only clarity. only peace.